run down. Really not giving a fuck now. Oh, I'm just doing my best. These hollows go deep in the vest. This pressure is crushing my chest. Man, I'm so tired but never can rest. Yeah, just smoking and smoking and smoking. Got nothing to prove, I'm so broken. Drown from the smoke and the focus. Feel like a plague, I'm a locust. Top of the stack, I'm the dopest. Know that you pussy ass rappers are hopeless. None of this fate, man, I chose this. Probably die young and I know it. Already gone but don't show it. Tripping on how you ain't noticed. The way that you move is atrocious.
Oh shit, she fucking talks. Did you hear that? It said recording in progress.
Yeah.
Alrighty. Welcome guys to Incognito mode. This is my segment that I call Welcome to the Potty. I have a guest here that I really like their way of thinking or just stuff they got going on in their life. And this is my good friend Daniel DZ, aka these motherfucking nuts. I'm just kidding. But I want to thank you for taking time out of your day, your night, and everything you have going on, just to come talk to me for a little bit. Do you know
Yeah.
the name of my podcast?
Yes, of course.
What's
Incognito. You got me all shy already.
Wait, say it again. You need to work on that pronunciation.
I know. I'm freaking
See,
out. It's
see, see.
incognito.
Incognito.
There you
Okay,
go.
okay,
Right?
okay. Good job.
It's like your browser. You go on incognito mode, look up some things you probably shouldn't.
Yeah, you don't want people to just know what you've been looking up. Yeah, that's exactly what it is. But I do want to just kind of preface like whatever we talk about, and I don't want anyone to take offense to it. This is just a topic that we came about, and it's something that I think is really important for all ages, not just like us as adults finding our way in life, even as like children. Whoever sees this, I hope we say something or you hear something that just makes you feel like, okay, I needed to hear that. And it's the perfect time to hear it. And for some reason, I needed to hear it now.
Mm.
And we have our shades on just because we're going to hide behind them until we feel a little more comfortable. Um, as this is part of our incognito ensemble.
Hmm. Yeah, definitely. It's like me in the past, everybody has their masks, me back in the day as a tagger, my alter ego was the curse. Everybody knew curse.
That's
Everybody's
so
seen it on
perfect.
walls everywhere. So it's kind of like the same thing.
Yeah, that's what I wanted to ask you about actually.
Mhm.
Where did your name come about? Like what inspired you to call yourself literally the cursed one,
Yeah.
friend?
Um, well, my name had started off as Cure, Kure. And
Okay.
yeah, it started off as Kure because I wanted to cure the world, I wanted to change the world, all of that. And the other side of me is a angry, violent person.
Yeah.
So there was a guy from a rival crew, he called himself Curse. And I said, nah, I want that. I like that. So obviously me being my former violent self, I told him like you ain't writing that shit no more. That's all me.
Like that's
And
mine.
the dude, I don't want no problems. You can have it. So I went ahead and took it and I mean it kind of fits really. Like it fits. I felt like it fit my persona at the time. Like it's like a curse, no matter what I do, it always feels like 5 steps forward, 10 steps back. No matter how hard I try, it's one thing after another bad thing, and it just felt like a curse. So it felt like it really fit. And I kind of just ran with it. It started off as little taggings on the wall, and then it turned into vandalism, then it turned into pieces that were everywhere, stickers, and anywhere I could write my name, you know,
Yeah.
kind of where it came
Curse.
from.
I like cure better. What the
Yeah.
fuck? What happened?
I don't know. I felt like that fit my name, my persona, my
At
alter
that
ego at the
time.
time.
Okay. I mean, I totally get that. Like you said, we all kind of like it's kind of I had no idea. I'm so glad I asked that because you started off being this like I want to cure the world, like I want to fix shit, like and then somewhere along the lines you're like, nah, fuck that, now I want to be cursed because nothing's going my way, and this little
Mhm.
positive like Daniel that I am is just like shit's not working for him, so let me find another way to figure shit out for myself. And
Yeah,
that was, yeah.
that's definitely the mindset at the time. Like I was so young, naive, like I can change the world. I know I can do it. And then the world just kind of kicks your ass and says, no, you ain't changing shit, kid.
Yes.
And then so I'm like, I became angry and resentful and even, just downright just hateful and violent. So I felt that it really fit at the time, maybe nowadays as I'm older, as an adult, grew past all of that, then yeah, Cure would probably be a better name nowadays.
Yeah,
But
it's
uh
cure one
yeah.
person at a time. Oh, that's so, like, it's beautiful to hear where you like initially wanted to go with it, and then it sucks to hear that like your little like your reason for it just kind of took a left turn, you
Yeah.
know?
It's day by day, just kicking your ass, kicking your ass, kicking your ass, and then it just beats you down, man. Like even the strongest people will fold over time if enough things get to you, especially at that young age of it was like 13, 14 at the time.
Yeah, yeah, that's a really like annoying age. Oh my gosh. You're like in between being a kid again, like a kid still, which is that innocent side of you, and then it's like now you got people fucking with you and just life
Mhm.
in general.
Oh yeah. And then, when you're kind of running with the crews, like it doesn't make it any easier. Um,
Yeah.
you think you're just into graffiti and tagging, then all of a sudden people start crossing you out. Then it becomes, crews. You don't like this guy, you don't like that guy because he crossed you out. And then it's just you get just so tied up in the graffiti world that, then you start beefing with everybody. Like it's almost a gang at that point.
Yeah. Yeah, for sure. And I think I mean we all have that. It's like a natural competitive thing. Like we all have ego, that's normal.
Hmm.
And it's like fuck you, like that I worked hard on that shit. Like now you want to fuck it.
Yeah, and I think it even goes deeper than that. Like when
Mhm.
you come from, I don't want to say like lower income households, but when you come from um
Adversity.
households that have a lot of traumas, a lot of unhealed traumas, generational curses, if you want to call them that,
Hmm.
there's a lot of, anger and resentment towards your parents and a lot of problems. A lot of times dad isn't in the picture. You don't have a sense of family, and then you go out and really find guys that feel just like you, and like, hey, I'm fucked up, you're fucked up too. Like, hey, let's try and make the best of it.
Let's fuck shit up
So
together now.
yeah, and then you really form your own families that you never had at home. So it's like a almost like a primitive yearning for that social connection, whether
Yeah.
it's positive or negative. You can see it,
Yeah,
across
everyone just wants to
society.
find somewhere where they belong.
Yeah.
Um, and a lot of times it doesn't matter if it's positive or negative, as long as it makes you feel like I think this is something that everyone should recognize, and we all want to feel important to someone. It doesn't
Hmm.
matter who. It could be like your fucking neighbor, or like your mom, your dad, or you find this one teacher that's like, oh shit, and like you want to impress them. Like everyone has someone that you want to feel important to. Um,
Hmm.
and I think you make a really good point where if it's like, I don't know your situation in particular, I don't want to speak on it, but like if let's say you don't have a mom or a dad that is super involved, you're like, well, I'm gonna get your attention one way or another. And whether you mean it or not, it's like psychologically, like we know what we need to do to get a certain type of attention and we'll act on it.
Yeah, well, I mean, I can see it in the kids that I coach and help out, that sometimes bad attention is better than no attention.
Yeah,
They'd rather take the bad and get in trouble because it's a form of attention. They're getting it versus no attention at all. And I slowly but surely I can kind of I'm changing that. I don't want to say on the front lines, but man, I'm really out there dealing with some of these kids that have these behavioral problems. They're used to screaming and yelling, but when you actually, break it down and talk with them, like, man, they just gravitate towards you because you're just showing them the love that they don't really get at home.
Yeah.
So, when they gravitate towards you, you really have to be on your best behavior. You really have to be a true role model in the way that you speak and the way that you carry yourself because these kids want to be just like you.
Yeah.
So you better
Get your
come
shit together.
correct, man.
Yeah, no, I feel that so bad in my fucking spirit. I have a little sister, she's 11. Um, and she just looks up to me so much, and I'm like, fuck, why? Like, it's too much pressure.
Yeah.
But in a way, it's like, okay, I need that because I have parents who they just kind of let me do my thing. They trust me enough to do that. I didn't have parents that like I didn't even talk to them about college or anything. Um, and so now with my sister, I'm like, I gotta go back to college because I can't be telling her, get good grades and you need to go to college and then you need to get a good job. Because she's sassy, a sassy little girl. So she could just turn around and be like, well, you didn't do it. So why
Hmm.
are you telling me? And I'm
And you're
like,
like, well, you're making some good points.
you right.
You're right. You're right.
So I totally get that. And it's like I find myself even sometimes the way I talk, like I cuss a lot. I am so bad. I cuss all the time. It's the worst thing ever. And around her, I'm like, oh, oh, like I catch myself and it's like, okay. And I'm like, Ariana, please, like, I know you heard that, but just pretend you didn't. Like, and she's a good ass kid. So I just don't want to be that like any little part of me that's rotten to like inch its way onto her, you know?
Yeah, you don't want to be in any part of that negative influence. I mean, because
Mhm.
as sad as it is, the older they get, they're just exposed to it anyways. So you really have to help preserve that innocence as much as you
Yes.
can, like you want to put yourself in that situation as a kid, like, man, I shouldn't have learned about XYZ at 9 years old. Like,
Yeah.
it made me grow up faster than I was. I never got to enjoy my childhood. I was out there angry and beefing at the world at, 9 years old. Like, bro, I should have been playing with Legos. Like,
Yeah.
you know what I'm saying? Like,
Stepping on the Legos and being mad that it hurt.
yeah, that's the only thing I should be worried about.
No, exactly. And then you did say something about like generational trauma. And I
Hmm.
like to look things up because a lot of the things I have like an idea of what it is, but I just don't want to explain it wrong. So I
Hmm.
looked it up. And it says, what is considered generational trauma? It can be defined as psychological and emotional wounds that have accumulated over time and transferred to future generations. Um, which I mean, do you have any specific generational trauma that you feel comfortable sharing or
Um, I think, I mean, just off the top of my head, I think it's a lot of and I think it's in a lot of Mexican culture. It's not just specific to my household.
Mhm.
But I want to say the machismo mindset of where you're just, dude, like, what are you doing? Tough shit. Who fucking cares? Go out and do it. Like, that's not
Yeah.
working. That it's not, it never worked before. It was all kind of just swept under the rug. Like, great grandpa, he busted his ass 18 hours a day and this and well, yeah, that's why he died when he was 57. You
Yeah.
know what I'm saying? Like, he was stressed out. And then his son, well, grandpa, or, not my grandpa, I'm just speaking in general, but
Mhm.
grandpa, he carried on. He followed that because that's what his dad taught him. So he was just as hard on, my dad, not my dad, but the
Yeah.
dad, and it just follows its sound like this is the way you need to be, and it's just tough, 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 tough. And
Yeah.
some parents rebel against that. So you know I can think of a few examples of parents that rebelled against that, and they were into the partying and the drugs, and and then that also is considered, I would consider it a generational curse or trauma, whatever you want to refer to it as. But it's another thing is you just broke one and started another
Yeah.
because now let's say me, I see you drinking and smoking and partying and fighting, I'm gonna do the same thing. It's not, you know, I'm not too sure if I'm wording it correctly, but it doesn't always have to just be boom, 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 all the way down. Like it can take steps over here and steps over here that are still just as bad as up here.
Yeah, like
So,
you can turn one bad thing into another, and just because it's
mhm.
not the same thing doesn't mean it's not affecting someone negatively.
Yeah, so it's not that but anyways, back to the point I was making, the machismo mindset of just you got to be tough, you got to work hard, you got to just push through it. Like it's not working. Men are seeing, the highest suicide rates, statistically ever, and it's
Yeah.
guys that are my age.
Hmm.
And we're putting all these expectations and all these pressures on us, and not being able to talk with our friends about it. It's like, or like the idea of not being able to talk to your friends about it because like, dude, quit being a pussy, suck it up, drink a
I
beer.
hate that. I hate that so
Like
bad.
it's just continuing that. And I don't think we always need to drink through it. I don't always think we need to smoke through it because to me, if you're hurting, if you're hurting and that pain, sometimes those pains that you go through are there for a reason. It's a catalyst to the next stage of your life. It's called growing pains.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? Like if you
Hmm.
don't allow yourself
To
to be
feel.
sad, like
Yeah.
that emotional spectrum is important.
Hmm.
So if you don't allow yourself to be sad, you're not gaining those lessons that sadness would have taught you. And then you move on, you're just numbing yourself to it. So,
Yeah,
um,
that's so like you said that perfectly. I can say I think we both know. I used to numb a lot of my like internal turmoil. A lot of people always just see me as like the super happy girl, and like nothing's
mhm,
wrong, and like super positive, and I kind of does kind of get to you like at a point, because then you're not being honest like with yourself for one, and then so when other people just think you're this like completely unscathed person, you feel like,
mhm.
oh, I'm a whole ass fraud.
Mhm.
Like,
Well, it's the mask that we were talking about earlier.
yeah.
It always shows itself in different forms. It doesn't have to be like up here I'm this perfect person and then back here I'm a serial killer. Like it can show itself in different ways,
And different, yeah, and mine was definitely it was weed. I mean,
Hmm.
and it's still something I work on. I'm a lot better at it. Um, to where now, like, well, I want to say maybe like a month ago, like 3 weeks ago, I told Justin like I'm starting to feel that numbing again. Where
Hmm.
when I first met Justin, he didn't smoke at all. He actually had never smoked ever. And so I was like, I had never liked being stoned by myself. So I was like, well, let me just not, because I get dumb. I get hella like slow. And when I do, I want to like watch a movie and like eat like regular chill time instead of drinking a beer
Yeah,
that was,
stoner shit.
yeah. But it was like, if I laugh at something that he doesn't find funny, then I'm gonna feel like a dumbass. And so I was like, I stopped cold turkey for 3 years.
Hmm.
And so I always knew I wasn't like addicted. Like if I really wanted to, I could stop. But it wasn't until I stopped, that I realized I had a lot of fucking shit that I never like dealt with.
Yeah.
And
It
I was like
was.
angry.
And I get it. I mean, a lot of us at that younger age, you're going through something and you don't know what to do. You're at that age where you're, kind of still a kid.
Yeah.
Um, I don't know what I'm doing. I'm just trying to navigate my way through life. And somebody introduces you to this medicine, and you're like, here, like, oh, I'm self-medicating now. Hey, that's what I'm not smoking weed. I'm self-medicating.
It's an
Duh.
herb. It's
Yeah.
natural.
And it's not just like that, it's like that with alcohol. And me, I found everybody finds, I feel like when they're younger, escapism,
Hmm.
whether it's sports, whether it's, poetry, art, Smoking, drinking, it can go from positive to negative. Everybody finds their escapism.
Yeah.
So you're not the only one there. I found my escapism through drinking, smoking, tagging, and fighting.
Yeah. We all
That
have
was
our
really
things.
good. So, you're not alone there.
No, but back to your machismo point, that's big. That's
Hmm.
really big. Like in our community, I'm Mexican and Salvadorian, and the Mexican side is very put your head down, do what you're
Hmm.
supposed to do. Your woman's never supposed to hear about your problems. You go to work, you take care of your responsibilities, and as a man, you provide, and it is what it is. You don't complain. That's your
Hmm.
role. Um, and for the women, it's you stay home, cook, clean, you raise kids, and you don't question your man. So that's another form of machismo that's brought on to women. Um, and that's fucked up,
Hmm.
for both parts because I'll say it, my dad is very I hope he never watches. He's very in tune with himself. Like if he's feeling something, he's gonna say it and he's gonna talk about
Hmm.
it. And then my mom's like the Hispanic where she's like, why are you telling me? She's kind of cold in
Hmm.
that sense because she was like the youngest daughter and has mad brothers. Like all my uncles that are her only siblings that are here in the state are boys. So she just kind of would see my dad as like, why are you complaining? But me as a daughter, I'm like, that's my dad. Why are you not listening to what he's saying? I can hear him.
Hmm.
Why can't you? You're an adult. And I've always been very like, if I had any issues, I would prefer to talk to my dad first
Hmm.
because he was more understanding. And so in that sense, I feel like I got lucky. I didn't get that full on machista dad where like, shut the fuck up, go wash your clothes, wash mine while you're at it. And then, all that extra stuff. It was like, it was more in a caring factor. Like you'll do it because you care, not
Hmm.
because you have to. So that was something that I think a lot of my cousins didn't get to have or see. And so they just have this front of like they don't get to complain.
Hmm.
And that's fucking like everyone goes through shit and everyone should feel comfortable to talk about shit. And like for you to have to feel like you have to keep everything in at all times and then on top of that have all these responsibilities and no one to like hear your shit, that's
Hmm.
fucked. Like
Yeah. And
that's
and yeah,
yeah.
and that's the way that I was living for a while. I mean, it's still up until I want to say this year. I mean, I feel like um as a man, especially with somebody that's kind of like me, this big, strong, tough guy, everybody, this image that everybody sees, like um me, I'm really trying to actively change that this year. I stopped putting it on my shoulders. I stopped putting my head down and just pushing through it like, dude, I can't do this no more because I can't. I'm having these thoughts and it's not right. That there's no reason for me to be thinking like this. Um, not I don't want to say anything suicidal or anything like that. Like that's
But
not me. But
just when you're hard on yourself.
just that depressive state, not suicidal, but that depressive state of, just closing myself off, snapping at people. Like that's not me.
Yeah.
Like, well, not anymore, back back to 20 years ago or whatever. Yeah, but as I've grown, like that's not me. Like I've changed my persona. I've changed who I am. I did a lot of hard work to get where I'm at, to be this happy, fun, still wise at the end of the day, but I'm happy to be here. I'm happy to be alive. So why am I really snapping at people? Like that's not me. Like,
Yeah.
to turn people away when they ask for help, like that's not me. That's never been me, but that's how bad that it got is like, hey man, I'm barely here right now. I cannot handle your problems.
Yeah.
And
Hmm.
um to really to really changed things, I guess, is me taking a step into to get into therapy. That was the first step right there, man. And I can say, dude, I wish therapy upon everybody, man. Like, it's a
Yeah.
beautiful thing. I recommend it to everybody because you get this, this is,
Yeah.
this is, I want to say like a form of therapy.
Yeah.
You're talking with people, you're expressing yourself and you're venting, you're problem solving, like whatever you want out of somebody, this person's doing it with you,
Yeah.
you
That's
know. So,
that's crazy. That was one of my questions.
mhm,
I'm literally like before we got on, I was trying to do it real quick because just I'm just in the computer. And I had a notebook where I wrote stuff, but I don't know what the fuck happened to it. But anyways, one of my questions was, is therapy something that you agree with? And then the
mhm,
other one was, have you ever had therapy? Um,
mhm,
so that's really great. Honestly, I think I a while ago it was a stigma on it, like
mhm,
something wrong with you, you need therapy.
mhm,
Versus now, it's so like normal. It's accepted. It's like we fucking need it. A lot of the
mhm.
times you don't want to tell your problems to someone you know because then you feel like they're gonna judge you. Versus this is a whole ass stranger. I could tell you what I did and didn't do, and I'm gonna leave.
Yeah.
You can
And
keep
you
all
and
that.
you and you legally can't tell nobody
Yeah.
that. You legally can't tell nobody
Yeah.
anything.
If you do, I'm gonna sue that ass and I'm gonna get this money.
Yeah.
No, but that's awesome. I'm really happy to hear that actually.
Yeah. Yeah.
Oh, makes me
I
happy.
think it's been like 9 sessions, so almost 9 weeks.
Yeah.
But my first experience with therapy was a few years ago, and it was a really, really bad experience. So it kind of turned me off from it in the first place.
Mm-hmm.
And then, I had a bad experience, and the therapist that I had at the time, I presented quite a few problems, and they just, kind of made me feel stupid. And I'm like, bro, like I'm here, the most vulnerable place that I am, and you're making me feel dumb for being vulnerable. Like I never want to do this again. I never want to be
Yeah.
vulnerable again. Like, no,
Yeah.
walls back up. Nobody's coming through.
Yeah.
And it took a
Add
lot
some
of time.
gators outside the fucking wall.
Yeah, it took a while to get back, but and it wasn't under good circumstances, I'd say.
Hmm.
Obviously I was at my low point and I'm like, dude, I'm gonna give therapy a try again. I don't know what else to do. So yeah, yeah, I'm back. And it's been healing. Couple of the things that we've gone over are grief. That was a big thing for me. Last year, one of my best friends shot and killed himself.
I'm
Day
sorry.
after Easter, and then I lost my probably one of the closest people I have in my lives, being my grandma. She was a big support system. So within 4 months, I lost two really big people,
Yeah.
and grief, it really took over, and having somebody to be able to guide you through this you know, misery it's been life-saving. I recommend it to anybody and anybody that can afford it. If they can't afford it, they have, many different options out there, but I recommend it to everybody.
There's always a resource.
Hmm.
There always is, whether we can afford it or not. Google is free. And it'll tell you places. There's some people that donate their time, and so I'm really proud of you.
Yeah.
That's a big
Thank you.
step. Yeah, no, for real. Like, to recognize that you're dealing with something and going out of your way to like find a solution for it, not just our topic originally was like victim mentality, and
Hmm.
you don't you don't have that like anymore. I don't know if you ever felt like you did, but
Oh yeah. Yeah, for
yeah.
sure.
Yeah. But that's big, for you to really like, and not even to say like you didn't want anyone else to intervene, but sometimes like you said, other people got the shit going on, and you don't know how to even talk to them about it
Hmm.
because you don't want to put your problems on them.
Oh
Um,
yeah, definitely. When you see it, I mean, everybody's got a struggle going on.
mm-hmm.
That's life. Everybody has their own internal struggles, their own insecurities, their own, like the boss is nagging at work. I got this bill, my baby mama is taking me to court. I just got in a car. Everybody's got something going on. Why am I gonna add my problems onto yours? Like,
Yeah.
you
But you
know,
know
and
what? It is good to have a couple people that you know are always down to listen to you.
mhm,
Even if you don't see them all the time, or it's good to have. I always say like it's good to have at least three people. Someone to hear you about your good shit that won't be like, oh, this bitch is always bragging. Someone to hear you about your sad shit where they're like, usually I like that to be a long term friend, because usually only long term people have patience for that. And then someone to just hear you out on like life. It doesn't have to be good or bad, but just like, hey, how are you doing? Like, let's share recent life shit going
mhm.
on, just have these outlets. um and and then therapy is just like that shit is great.
Yeah, well, it's exactly what you said, and it's all three of those in one place.
Mm-hmm.
If you don't have those friends, because growing up, I want to say it was not easy, but you come across those people naturally. You have your friend circle, and over the time it gets smaller, but as it gets smaller, those bonds form.
Mm-hmm.
So you can find those people, but unfortunately, not everybody's blessed with social skills to go out and make friends like that.
Yeah, that's true.
Some people are just socially awkward, and that's fine, not saying anything's wrong with it, but we have to acknowledge that some people aren't blessed with those social skills and they don't have nobody.
Yeah,
They only have whatever
resource.
escapism that they have, whether it's, video games, smoking, drinking, so if you can go to therapy and find, all three of those friends in one place, I mean, it's a gold mine there, man.
Yeah, yeah, that's a good point. I didn't even think about that. That's a really good point. I've always been like all over the place. So that's good. That's good. I'm glad you said that because I wouldn't even touched on that.
Mhm.
But see, it's like it's good to have other perspectives because
Oh
not
yeah.
everyone thinks the same. Not I'm not gonna think of some of these things, and I think if it's anything that I want to do with like this particular podcast is just like talk to people that maybe I haven't talked to in a while, and maybe their mindsets are the same, maybe they're different, but regardless, like I learned something from you,
Hmm.
or you did something for me to really find like you're an important person, whether I tell you or not. Like you need to know that, for yourself.
Hmm.
And I don't know, I'm so like I talk to Justin about you sometimes, and I'm like, oh my gosh, like, look, he's got this going on. And Justin's like, oh, that's cool. He doesn't even know who you are.
Yeah,
He's
yeah.
so.
Well, that was fucking great, I guess.
No, but he's so, and I'll be like, it's this guy. He's, oh, yeah, okay. Like, because he doesn't know the names. So if he sees pictures, he's like, oh, that's awesome. And like, just things like that. And I'm just really happy for you. I remember you in Mr. Martinez's class. This fool. You would turn around. I remember the first time you turned around. I was writing. I hate Spanish. I hate Spanish all over my notebook because I had a really hard time focusing. So I would have to doodle or write sentences to not get in trouble in my notebook. And it's Spanish. I already knew Spanish, so I didn't really need to learn anything. Until you would turn around and you'd be like, "What are you doing? You need to pay attention." I'm like, "Shut the fuck up!" Like you don't even want to pay attention.
Yeah, I'm just
um
distracting you. I'm just bugging you.
but it was cool because who did I sit next to? I think it was like Liv, and then I don't know who, but I didn't really feel comfortable in that class because I'm like, I don't know a lot of these people outside of like the people that I know them through. So it,
Hmm.
it felt awkward for me because I'm like, do I talk to you guys or do I just shut the fuck up, mind my business? Um, so it was nice to feel like you're like, hey, what's up? Like, what are you doing? um, and just feel like less of a little wallflower, you know.
Mhm.
So
Oh, I got you
yeah.
in the game.
He was like, oh, I do this and I tag, and every fucking day you do a new doodle, and I'd be like, all right, he's gonna tag today. Let me just rip this out before I need this for homework for real. So that was cool. But outside of that, I do remember you were like in your own world, um, and just kind of like I know your friend group. You were friends with like my friends' brothers and stuff. Um, and I do remember thinking like, you guys, like, why are you doing this stuff? Not good stuff,
Oh yeah,
because
for sure.
you get to know, like, in class you get to talk to people and I'm like, you're actually a good, decent human. Like, why do you not show that to people? Like, why are
Mhm.
you not that outside, and it's like that mask thing. And I just always knew that you were like so much more than just the tagger and the persona, and like,
The
because
image.
yeah, because I'm like, you're funny, like,
Mhm.
and you're cool, and like you're smart, and like, why showcase that? And it makes a lot of more sense now where you say like your cure was your
Mhm.
original. That's, I feel like I knew that
Mhm.
I knew the person that wanted to change the world and like had like certain goals to make people like be more like just a good ass kid, a good decent human fucking being.
Yeah.
um but when we're in high school we just want to fit in and be
Mhm.
these like, create these social like environments where like it all makes sense, even if it's not necessarily exactly who I am. It needs to make sense, to the outside world. um and I'm glad that you've come into your own for sure, like you're coaching. Like, I would
Yeah.
have never thought that Daniel in Mr. Martinez's class, who's fucking tagging on my notebooks, would one day be a father of two, have a beautiful ass future wife, baby mama, whatever. She's beautiful, and be coaching a whole football team, like getting fixing all your legal issues, and like you're a whole different, like you're Daniel now. You're not cursed. You're like, you're
Mhm.
you now. And I'm
Mhm.
just so like happy for you.
Yeah. For sure. Oh man, I appreciate it. Yeah. But I think that's if that's just where life's taken me. If you allow it to take you, if you don't numb yourself, if you're open to the change, like you're gonna go through all kinds of cycles and
Yeah.
phases, like especially I mean when you're young, a lot of us have like going back to the original the topic there was the victim mentality. A lot of us it was just kind of forced into it.
Mm-hmm.
You don't really have these strong leader leader roles around you to break you out of it. It's kind of forced onto you, like, well, my mom's doing this, or my dad's not around, or my environment sucks and poor me, and you just get in this downward spiral, and it just gets worse and worse and worse. And if you kind of, or like me, you fall into the victim mentality, and then you start looking for family and brotherhood and others that feel just like you. And if you really, think about that, or think about me like that as being a good person, I think it's true across the board. It's not just me, really. I think that maybe just because you had a more intimate, I don't want to say relationship, but an intimate friendship where
Friendship.
you got
Yeah.
to know me.
Mm-hmm.
I think it's like that across the board, really. Like if you would have known this guy who's tattooed, you know, long socks and down ass fool, whatever you want to call him,
That was all my friends. That's
if
ridiculous.
you got to know him, like, dude,
Yeah.
he's a really fucking cool guy.
Yeah.
Like
Yeah.
I feel like that image, that persona, that, even gang member mentality, it all comes from it
Hurt.
things. It comes from victim mentality, and it comes from hurt. It comes from trauma.
Mm-hmm.
There's a reason why, there's a reason why people are like that.
Yeah.
There's a reason why, as men, you're it's part of the machismo thing again. As men, you're not allowed to be sad. Suck it up. Quit being a pussy, quit being a bitch. Okay, then, well, you suck it up and you have all this raw emotion. It's got to go somewhere. And most of the time, it funnels itself into anger. Well, when
Yeah.
you're angry, you're going to go out and hit people. You're going to go out and fight. So
But
that's kind of where, this whole gang mentality comes from is I found this group of guys that feel just like me. We all feel hurt, but it funnels itself into anger, and we call ourselves, ABC. Well, that group of guys over there is DEF, fuck those guys. But meanwhile, if you got to know each other, like, bro, you're
same
all
people.
going through the same shit.
Same fucking people.
You're
I'll
going
tell
through the same shit.
I'll tell you this, and growing up I used to be like, man, I had to move every fucking 2 years. It used to piss me off.
Hmm.
But everywhere I went, I met it was Fillmore. You got east side, north side, whatever, all the sides, they're all the same fucking part of the town. Um and it was like, and it was kind of nuts because back then you didn't really want to associate with people that talk to different crews, and like, and I just fucking did. I didn't give a fuck. But all the people were the same, and it was kind of like what I was telling you, like, you're a good person, like, what the why are you trying to put on this show?
Hmm.
And I used to love doing this thing, and it's probably like a little annoying, but I have a brother, and he was in a really bad situation in El Salvador, and there's a gang out there, and that's a very different kind of gang. So I would be like, I'm not impressed by your gang banging. I'm like, if you knew the shit I've heard, like, this is baby,
Hmm.
and I would tell, like, I'm like, even whether it was gang tagging, crews, all of that, I'm like, you guys are all literally the same. Like, it's your escape. It's how you deal with
Hope.
whatever you don't want to
Yeah.
deal with.
Hmm.
And so I would take the time to get to know, like, the people behind these gangs, and
Well, behind the mask. Yeah.
yeah, and I loved every single person individually for different reasons, and it would just confuse the shit out of me when I'd be like, damn, if only you knew that you and you have so much shit in common, but because you guys live over here, you won't even try to get
Well, yeah,
together.
it's the pride thing. It's the ego thing. Like,
Yeah. And
yeah,
I used to get
I
so
totally get it because I was the kind of the same way. I was kind of I was in a crew that was kind of in the middle of it. Like we were just, the fucking guys that love to party, love to smoke, love to drink, and we got along with everybody, but we also
yeah.
fought with everybody. So we had a kind of like a bipolar relationship. Like I talk to these guys on this side of town and I talk to these guys on this side of town, and you guys are the fucking same shit. Like, bro, you guys all like to smoke weed, party, fuck bitches and fight. Like it's all the same shit.
Yeah, exactly. But I mean, let me go back and because I looked up like victim mentality and stuff.
Hmm.
So victim mentality, for people who don't really know what the concept of that is or what it means, is when someone feels that bad things keep happening to them no matter what. That's the important part, the no matter what. Because something good could have been happening to you, but you refuse to see that shit because of that no matter what. And a lot of the times I like to equate victim mentality with self-sabotage.
Hmm.
Um, because I've done it.
Hmm.
I've done it a lot. And like, I could have a bomb ass situation and just be like, nah, it could be better. Or
Hmm.
like, whether it's job, school, like career, like, and we all kind of had to take a step back sometimes, breathe, and really change our mind and how we're seeing things, like our perspective. um and
Yeah.
and that's hard for people, especially because victim mentality isn't something you're born with, it's something we learn. Um, and sometimes it could be like your circumstances, like I said, like you said, when you're younger, you have things that you were young and didn't know how to deal with. So you either blame yourself, like, oh, because this keeps happening, I deserve it, or this keeps happening because I'm not deserving
Mm-hmm.
of good things. And that's not how we should see it, you know?
Yeah.
We should see it, even if it's a bad situation, what look for that light at the end of that tunnel.
Mm-hmm.
Like let's for me, for example, I used to call everyone my brother. Everyone. I'd be like, "You like my brother. You like my brother." Because I longed so badly to know my actual brother.
Mm-hmm.
He was in jail in El Salvador since the fucking day I found out I had a brother. Um, so I didn't take it as like a victim thing. I just took it as like I'm gonna find a way to feel like I have a brother, one
Mm-hmm.
way or another. I'm gonna get my experiences down. um, but in that same sense, it was like that longing feeling of like I would allow maybe people that weren't shouldn't have been in my life, like certain people that were gang banging and things like that, because of the fact that that correlated with someone that I wanted in my life.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
And that wasn't necessarily like a victim mentality, but it was like I was a victim of circumstance of wishing I had a brother. So I was putting myself in fucking dangerous situations. Like,
Yeah.
and like I wasn't raised that way. I wasn't raised to put myself in those situations. I was just acting on like this missing link, you know?
Yeah. And I think we see that across the board. Like I said, it goes back to I want to say I don't want to call it trauma responses, but I think that's what it is. You know, when you're growing up, um, I don't want to even want to say abuse, but when you're growing up neglected or abused, you find you find it somewhere else.
Yeah.
Or when you it's kind of like a running joke or like, oh, I'm a girl with daddy issues. But
No, it's so sad. It's
but it's
true.
a real thing. But it's a
Hmm.
real thing, you know. It manifests itself in many different ways. Like
Yeah.
you were talking about the self-sabotage, the victim mentality. Like it can take itself in a few different ways. You know, if you
Yeah.
have a victim mentality, you can self-sabotage greatly just because you don't trust somebody. Like I've been hurt in the past. I'm not trusting nobody. This doesn't feel real. You don't really love me. There's no way that you really love me. This is a trap. I'm not falling for it. And then you blow up and self-sabotage on this person who probably genuinely cared for you.
That's so sad. Babe, are you awake? I'm gonna talk about it. I'm sorry. Um, okay, so when I first met Justin, I was so anti like love. I was so like, fuck that love shit. That's just not for me. Like that shit's for the birds. Um, chirp chirp bitch. Like when I met Justin, I was so unexpectedly like I was not expecting that. I just was not expecting it. And I was mean. I was a mean girl. I was so mean to him. And it took him, he fucking slapped me across the face like with his words. He never touched me. And it like I felt like what did he say? He said, "Why are you treating me like if I did something bad to you?" And I was like, "What? What the fuck you mean?" And he's like, "Yeah, don't blame me for someone else's mistakes. I just got here." And I was just like, "How dare
He's
you call
right.
me out on my shit?"
You're right. You're right.
You ain't never lied. No, but it was just so like I didn't realize I was doing that. It was that self-sabotage. I felt
Hmm.
undeserving of this type of love. Like this was not something I was used to.
Hmm.
And so definitely it was self-sabotaging, and like even that can be, I guess, considered victim mentality. I'm not deserving of it, you know? So
Hmm.
I don't like you say I don't need it, but it's really I don't feel deserving of it, you
Yeah.
know?
So victim mentality is not just one thing. Like that's what
Yeah.
it is. Like it's a broad umbrella term, and all these raindrops of symptoms show itself in many, many different ways.
Yeah.
So I would consider it one because it's when I think of victim mentality, it's like poor me, no, like everything's wrong with me. And that from that end of the spectrum to like what you were saying, like I don't deserve this. Like,
Yeah.
but it all stems from some kind of trauma, some kind of abuse or neglect or whatever you want to call it.
Mm-hmm.
It all, ranges in severity of
Yeah.
1
Or
through
like
10.
growing pains, like just dealing with the situation that you both didn't know what the fuck you were doing. It
Hmm.
doesn't have to be a malicious thing. It could just, it literally, you're growing. Life is lifing on your ass. Like,
Yeah.
like it's a part of life, and no one goes through life unscathed. Like
Hmm.
some shit's gonna pop off eventually. I thought I had a fucking, I was like, nothing bad will ever happen to me because my life is fucking perfect. No, bitch. Think again.
Yeah.
And
And yeah,
so
it manifests itself in different ways. And like you said, it could happen as you as a kid, you 14 years old and you think you're in love and you get your heart broken and then you take it out on the next, you know, how many girls for the next 10 years? Like,
who broke your heart?
oh man.
You said I could ask whatever.
Oh man.
I'm just kidding. JK, I think I already know.
Plenty, plenty,
I'm
plenty.
just kidding. No, but I have, let me see what else. So I watched this, it was a therapist and she was talking to some girl. And the girl used to just be like a straight, what do I call these, little fast girl. And she said she learned it from like seeing her mom, you know, deal with men. And
Hmm.
her mom kind of always ignored her for the attention of men. Um,
Hmm.
and so she was like, that's where I found value in men because my mom taught me that like a man was more important than my own kid. So a man is where I find my importance.
Hmm.
Um, and so that's one way it could be a learned behavior when you're a kid and someone's not protecting you.
Hmm.
You just learn a behavior through that. Um, and then feeling unsafe was one of the things the therapist said. She said, if you don't feel safe, you will find an outlet that makes you feel safe. Whether it's like you said, we find friend groups and whatever they're into, I'm into because together we can't be stopped, you know?
Hmm. Well,
Um,
yeah, well, that's where our survival came from. It's one of our root instincts is we don't have claws, we don't have horns, we don't have size, we don't have anything, we don't have venom, we don't have none of that. Our survival came from our ability to adapt and our ability to stick together.
yeah,
Our
it's
power numbers came together. That's where our true primitive instincts is together. So that's why people are constantly yearning for this sense of family, yearning for, wanting attention and affection. Like it's in our roots, really.
yeah. That's actually there's a term for that. It's called I think it's called group think, or what is it? Group mentality. Well, they're saying group mentality. I took a psychology class and they called it group think. But it's
Hmm.
the inclination that some humans have to be a part of a large group, often neglecting their individual feelings in the process and adopting the behaviors and actions of the people around them.
Hmm.
And that's exactly what you explained. And that it's called herd mentality. There you go.
Yeah, it's
Herd.
herd mentality and group thinks another thing too,
Yeah.
is because it's such a big part of your primitive brain to want to belong that you'll sacrifice yourself to belong to the group. Because back in the days, I'm talking hundreds, thousands of years ago, if you were shunned from the group, it
Oh,
meant that you died.
died.
It
Yeah.
meant that you died.
It
It
was
meant that a
gone.
saber tooth ate you. So
No,
you
yeah.
had to conform to that group. That group had to like you to keep
Yeah.
you around.
That's very true. I had to look it up because it's gonna bug me. Group think is the practice of thinking or making decisions as a group in a way that discourages creativity or individual responsibility. That responsibility part hits because
Hmm.
it's like if we're all doing it, we're all getting in trouble. It's not just me, you know? So That's you made a good point there with that. But let's talk about empowerment, since we already talked about like
Mm,
victim mentality. Societal expectations. For some reason, I had societal expectations there under victim mentality, and I think that's where like the group think falls into, um, like what is expected of us, and if we
mhm.
don't reach those things, then we're less than, you know.
Yeah.
Um, what do you think? Empowerment. Well, how would you define empowerment?
Um, I don't know if the two terms go hand in hand, like victim mentality, empowerment, like they're opposite sides of the coin.
Mm-hmm.
Um, but empowerment to me, it's really finding the power within yourself, and setting kind of goals for yourself, I want to say.
Mm-hmm.
Um, I mean, it's such a hard term to describe for me. When I think of empowerment, I think of, what I always say. Um, a lot of people have gotten use out of, this, I don't want to say motto or phrase, but I repeat it often and I say, you are God. You are the creator of your life. You are the creator of your reality. You are the universe. The universe lives within you. You are a child of stardust. You have the power to go out and make anything happen. You just have to put in the work. Even God has to snap his fingers to make things happen. So you got to go out and make it happen to yourself. To me, that's empowerment is when you're giving people the power back in their lives, when they feel like everything's out of their control. I can't do this. I can't do that. I can't because XYZ. I can't. It's like, nope. Yeah, for sure there are things out of your control, but there are many things in your control. There are many, many things in your control. You just got to go out and do it. Takes a plan of action. It takes thinking. There's all these steps to do it, but you can do it. There's nothing stopping you.
Yeah.
There's really not. The only thing that stops you is your own mentality. So I repeat that often. A lot of people hear it and get all fired up, like, oh man,
When's the last time they read the Bible? People just want
yeah,
to be mad about anything.
yeah.
um, well, I like that. My dad, what you said, I like started smiling because I'm like, my dad says that all the time. My dad literally says, we're all gods. We're our own version of God. And he made us in his likeness, which means we have the ability to decide for ourselves. That's why we're not animals, and we have the capability to see right from wrong. We're on top of the food chain according to us. Because of that, we have cognitive thinking. We can recognize rights and wrongs. And so that I 100% agree with what you said. Um, and not to say in a literal form like I'm a god and I can. That's not what we're saying. Obviously, it's literally like I have the ability to do with my life what I will.
Mhm.
And that's that. Yeah, I would. That's what I consider empowerment as well. What does the internet say? The process of becoming stronger and more confident, especially in controlling one's life and claiming one's rights. Same shit, different.
Different verbiage.
Yeah, but I like the way you say it better because it feels like how it should be said. It
Hmm.
makes you just feel like you're the would you say the something about your life, you're the
Yeah,
disciple.
well, the God, the creator of your life,
Yeah,
the author of your story, whatever you want to call it. Like to me, when I say it, you're like, bro, I'm gonna call you. I ain't gonna text this because I'm gonna say it with my chest.
yeah.
I would say it a lot louder, but I got people sleeping in the other room. But that's something that you say with your chest. You
Mhm.
say it with your whole heart, your whole chest. Like when you talking with somebody that you need to and get that feeling across to them. And once they get that feeling, they're like, oh, I want that. That's strength. I want
Yeah,
that feeling. It empowers them just hearing it.
yeah. And that's honestly like I think our the way humans work is like we're people of connection,
Mhm.
and let's say someone's not feeling their best, like your words can really change the way they're thinking.
Hmm.
And so I completely like what you said. It just I can't top it. It's exactly what it is. Um, and I think also we form habits over time. Um, and we have to snap out of them when they're not doing anything good for us.
Hmm.
Um, and we have to recognize certain patterns, and get our asses like moving.
Yeah.
Like sometimes that's all it takes,
Yeah,
like
it's those checkpoints. Every now and then, you get so busy in life and you're in the cycle, in the cycle, in the cycle. You can't do that, because you're just living on autopilot mode. You're not thriving, you're just surviving. So I feel everybody
that's a
needs to.
bar. Can you say that again?
I forgot what I said.
You're not thriving, you're surviving.
Yeah, there you
That's
go.
sick. Okay. All right.
Yeah. Yeah,
Decent.
I mean, sometimes I just speak. It just comes from the heart, really. I don't ever
Yeah.
really put too much thought into it. I like to speak from the heart. But yeah.
That was hard as shit. You're not thriving, you're surviving. I'm gonna
Yeah,
use
you
that. It's mine. It's locked in here now. Sorry.
take it. It's all yours. Take it, use it, expand it into other people. Everybody needs to hear it.
That's great. Do you
Yeah.
ever do you ever find yourself like stuck in like self-doubt with certain things?
Mm, I think it comes across. I don't want to say often, but when it does, that's the times for when it comes across to me like that. It's like, okay, you need a checkpoint. You need a time to reflect because you're just surviving. You're not thriving, whatever it was, but you're living in autopilot mode, like
Yeah.
you're just going along with it. You need a checkpoint. It's your body's way, your mind's way of telling you you need to stop. You need to self-reflect. You need to analyze. You need to feel what you're feeling.
Yeah. And that's what I was gonna say. How do you get yourself out of it? So in a way you're just like, well, feel that shit out and then see what
Mhm.
comes out of it once you're done, you
Yeah.
know?
Well, it's a good checkpoint though.
Yeah.
When I feel it, it's mostly um it's mostly am I doing enough as a dad? Am I doing enough as a boyfriend? Am I doing enough for my community? Am I doing enough to inspire change in others? And then, very at the bottom of that list, am I doing enough for myself? Um,
I don't like that. I don't
yeah,
like that you put yourself at the bottom.
yeah.
It bothers me.
Hmm.
Why? Why do you put yourself at the bottom?
I mean, I've always felt like that foundation, that support for everybody. Like I don't want anybody to feel sad. I know what depression feels like. I don't want nobody to feel like that. I'll sacrifice myself for you. That's it. It's left me scarred and hurt, but I ain't giving up on you. I ain't gonna give up on you. I ain't gonna give up on them. Like you can lean on my shoulder all you want. I'm tired. Trust me, I'm tired, but this shoulder's always here for you, man. I'll find that extra pull to get you
Yeah.
through. So, that's always my way of thinking. It is my daughter first, then my girlfriend, then my loved ones, then everybody, and then at the bottom of that list is me. Because I know I have the strength. I know I have the strength to get through whatever. I'll figure it out. Don't get me wrong, I'll figure it out.
Mm-hmm.
But I don't know. Can you figure it out? Can you figure it out? Can you like I don't know. I'd rather help you and not, find fuck around and find out, you know.
So I've recently I was that I would put myself at the bottom of the barrel. Um and I'm like, but pull me out, once they're in their spot. And I found myself mad, like not mad, but like like I was putting out so much energy into other people that I felt like a fucking dead battery, you know?
Mhm.
And and I at the beginning of the year, I don't know if you saw my post, but it was this poem. This girl is like a spoken word, and she said, what did she say? God complex with no God in you, but you want your disciples to decide for you. I got, I fucking died. And I was like, this bitch just called me out on my bullshit. Like,
Mhm.
and it was like, how can I always be giving? And it was that feeling of like, people think I'm perfect. People think I'm perfect. Like, what the fuck? Because I was always giving out advice to other people, but I wasn't taking the time to put myself first.
Mhm.
And it's like, that's why it felt like they don't really know the shit that I deal with because I wasn't showing that vulnerability, that side of me
Mhm.
where it's like I'm fucking dealing with shit too. Like ask me
Mhm.
how I'm doing,
Yeah.
and as people, I feel like you're very empathetic. And you'd rather, like you literally said it, I would
Mhm.
die for you. Like I like and and I think sometimes we need to check on
Mhm.
ourselves and really be like, all right, I love you. I care for you. Like, I know you got shit going on, but can we take like 10 minutes to talk about what the fuck I got going on?
Yeah. Well, and that's the thing too, is that you only have so much energy. You know,
Mm-hmm.
you're human. You only have so much energy. And if you're constantly giving your energy to this person, at the end of the day, you're going to be drained. You without anybody checking on you, anybody
Yeah.
coming to charge your batteries. Like, dude, I'm drained. I gotta self-charge. I gotta charge up. And well, sorry, I can't. You know, I got this, and this, and this going on. Like, it just leads to a downward spiral.
Yeah.
And and that's kind of what got me into therapy is like, dude, I'm doing all this for everybody, and man, I'm barely hanging on.
I had
So
the bread.
yeah, I am at 1% right now. I can't do it no longer. And speaking of therapy, I was actually in therapy earlier,
Hmm.
and this came up, this the support and for others, and being a foundation, I guess. And I wrote this down in my notes, and
Yeah.
it may not make sense, but I'll expand upon it.
Okay, go
It
ahead.
says being the support, not the foundation. Basically, I'm gonna be your support. I can't
Facts.
be your foundation because when I'm your foundation, you're not giving me support. I'm holding you up. I'm your foundation, but you're not helping me. So I can't do that. I can't, so I'm
That
changing my
is
way.
that is
Yeah.
so good. And I thought, okay, so when you said that, I thought it, but I didn't want to say it because
Mhm.
I'm like, I can't. I don't want you to feel like a way, but I was like, the foundation is like the bottom of the house, right?
Hmm.
And it's like if you're the foundation and you're giving yourself, letting yourself get to that 1%, the fucking house can collapse.
Hmm.
And
Yeah.
that's what I got chills. That's what that is basically saying, like, let me help you put some of the fucking sticks up and patch you up a little bit. But at the end of the day, that foundation has to come from you because
Hmm.
God forbid, and I'm not, uh, don't
Yeah.
put words in my mouth, but I, if like I'd say, if Justin, for example, were to leave me and
Hmm.
he didn't teach me, he was just enabling me. Oh, bitch, it's over for me.
Hmm.
Like, I wouldn't know what to do because my whole being would collapse because I'm so dependent on him, you know?
Hmm.
And that's important, being the support. That is so important.
Hmm.
And
Yeah,
that's
definitely.
that's
Because
crazy.
I've been the foundation for too many people for too long, and I'm like, dude, I'm holding the world on my shoulders, and you're not even like giving me a drink of water to help me out, bro. Like you're drinking that water for yourself. Like I'm doing all the work here. This is your life. You're supposed to help
Yeah.
me out here. So I
Yeah.
can't do that. I can't do that. I'll give you support, hey, you got to carry this world on your shoulders. Here's some
Yeah.
water. But
Yeah. Here's the
I can't
water,
do that.
drink it, hydrate, and
Hmm.
figure it
And
out.
hey, man, maybe sometimes depending on the person, like I might hold this world up a little bit with you, but I'm not carrying it all by myself.
Yeah. And
And I think that's the difference that we need to learn as those foundational people.
yeah,
That's one way to say it, man.
the
Like,
foundationals. That's great. No, but that's crazy. And back to like I didn't mean to make it seem like you weren't like taking care of yourself because
Hmm.
obviously you recognize like my battery is at 1%, like, and then you got yourself into therapy. And that's why I was so happy when you said that because I was like, I know it takes a certain point for you to even go out of your way to want to get therapy. So the
Hmm.
fact that you did, I was like, that's a badass motherfucker right there. He's not gonna pretend like he has it
No,
all.
no.
Like,
I said, I mean, I was the first one to post on Instagram or Facebook, Twitter, like I'm in fucking therapy. Let's go, dude. Like I just
yeah,
signed up. Like I wanna break that stigma.
yeah,
Like if you can, if big bag fucking Daniel Mendes is in therapy, man, fuck, maybe there's room for me in therapy.
yeah,
You know, like this dude's fucking hardcore. He's fucking covered tattoos. He's a felon. He's fucking been out there running around. Like if he's in therapy, man, maybe this is something I can look into.
yeah.
Well, I want to be part of the change. I want to break the stigma. I shout from the rooftops, as much as I can about it.
Ladies and gentlemen, I present to you Cure.
Full circle.
No, for real. And that's that makes me happy. I didn't really know because I never know. Even my podcast that I make, I never know where I'm going with it. So I was a little nervous because I was like, fuck, am I gonna be like weird or like am I gonna forget certain shit? But it's like it's genuine. Like I have real love for you and like the person you are and like who you were and who you are now. And it's like I'm just like really, really proud of you. And I
Oh,
hope you
thank
hear
you.
that in your everyday life
Oh,
more
thank you.
often than not. Um, because that's important, you know? You
Yeah,
know?
and luckily I've made better choices. I've surrounded myself with good people that see it and like you acknowledge it. I appreciate you so much. I reciprocate
No.
the same love to you.
No,
But
thanks.
I'm surrounding myself with people that say, "Man, I'm fucking proud of you, dude." And like it just as a man, we don't hear that very often. So it's just like, fucking
Yeah.
right
Fucking
there,
live
man.
for it. No, yeah, and I know that. I totally like I tell Justin all the time. I'll be like, babe, I'm so proud of you. And he's just like, for what? I'm like, just for being you. Like I'm just proud of you. But there's definitely a balance beam, and like you said, sometimes you're gonna hold the world for them maybe for like a minute, but then when you need someone to hold the world for you, that needs to be reciprocated,
Mhm.
and and even for like the whole empowerment thing, like we're only as strong as our weakest link around us. So holding down the fort is good, but then teaching them how to rebuild it is
Mhm.
more important.
Yeah.
um because when one day if you can't, like, they need to know how to do it too, you know oh, that's great. Become self-aware, shift thoughts into positive states. Okay, yeah, that's basically already touched on that. Just shifting the way you think about things and making negatives into positives. Honestly, that makes a big deal. That makes a big
Hmm.
deal. Don't dig a deeper hole for yourself. If you're already going through some shit, don't only dwell on that. And I struggle with that sometimes. I'm like, oh fuck, I'm sad.
Hmm.
um but I feel it, and then I'll talk usually to Justin about it, and he's really like reassuring and very like he's that reinforcement, not
Hmm.
not just the foundation, but like the reinforcement. And he's a big reason why I even started the podcast. He used to always tell me, he'll tell me, figure out what you want to do, and then when you decide, I'll help you. He's like, but you need to decide. I can't
Hmm.
I can't do that for you. And I'm like, okay. And so that's big. That's big on the support and not the foundation part.
Hmm. Well,
Um
I mean, hey, I'm proud of you for making the jump, man. I know it's nerve-wracking. I know it's scary to like, what are
uh,
people gonna think? What am I gonna do? What if I mess up? It's all those thoughts in your head and just taking the
yeah.
jump. I mean, it's standing at the top of the pool, ready to jump in, and what if I fall? What if I do? Just jump.
Yeah. Yeah.
You
You know,
made the jump, man.
I jumped. I
I'm
fucking
proud of you.
jumping,
Proud of you. You
jumping
made the
jack.
jump. Did it.
No, I never thought straight up. I did this out of like, what was he? Oh, he was recording with his friend Will. And he'll be like, babe, come, we want your thoughts on this. Like, what was it about? I think nails. They were like, why do you call a nail girl a nail artist? And I was like, fuck off. Like, it's a big difference. This is a nail artist. You can't see it. Fuck. But I'm like, you have a barber, and then you have the days where if your barber's filled up, but you need to go somewhere, you're gonna go to a guy that cuts hair. But you don't consider him your barber because he's not gonna do it like your barber. I'm like, so my nail lady is not my nail artist. Like, it's a difference. But then they understood it and they're like, oh, okay. And after that, I was like, hey, I helped them get something that they wouldn't have understood had I not explained it in a certain way.
Yeah,
Uh,
perspectives.
yeah,
Yeah.
literally perspective. And so, literally, I think it was the next day. I was like, I'm fucking do a podcast, babe. And he's like, what? Like, okay, because it was out of nowhere, and he's been telling me for years, years. And I was like, yeah, I'm gonna do it. He's like, okay. And he's just like, I'm fucking proud of you. He's like, you're a fucking crackhead for real. Like, I'll record and then I'll be like hours editing, or like once I'm done editing, uploading. And I'm like, I don't know how I have the energy, but it was the feedback. It was totally the feedback. And like people reaching out and being like, I relate. And I'm like, fuck, I wish like I have this saying, be who you wish, be the person that you needed when you were that little kid, and
Mhm.
and like someone that you could have like fucking related to. And so I'm like, okay, I got this. So thank you for that. And
Of course, my pleasure.
I'm trying. But you're my first official guest besides my husband and my sissy. And I want to thank you. And I have a story that there's a reason why I've always kept in touch. Like, no matter, we could go like a year or two without talking, but I'm like, Daniel ever needs some shit, man, I got you. No, for real. And it was, I don't know if you saw my last podcast that I did, but it was talking about like my health, my mental health, and all that shit that I
Mhm.
went through. And at the very beginning of that, it was the first time where I like saw some scary shit at Dolores State Park. And that summer, like we were cool, we were friends. I would go hang out with you and like other friends. Sorry, I never give you back blood and blood out.
I was wondering where the fuck that went.
um, I don't even know what happened to it. I think I had it forever, and then when we moved, I lost it, and I was like, "Fuck." But anyways, and it was a really scary time, and I called you, and you were there. You were like, "What's wrong? Like, are you okay?" Because I'm sobbing. Do you remember that?
It's been a while, man. It's like a gentle like a gist of it.
It was so long ago. We were, how old was I? I want to say like 17. It was 17. How old am I now? 29. So long ago. So fucking long ago.
That
But
was probably before Isaac. It's like
yeah, no,
almost
it
10,
was.
11, 10, 11 years ago.
It was way, yeah, you were yeah, no, it was a long time ago. There was no babies yet. Um and I cried my ass off in the car because I just had gone through some shit with my parents. And you're like, "Do you want to talk about it?" I was straight up like, "No." But crying. And you're like,
Mhm.
"Okay, I'll just drive around and like you tell me when you're ready." And like that made such a big difference that day, because I don't know what the hell would have happened. I was just so scared. But I want to thank you for, always being like such a genuine friend and a good person. And even though you had your moments where you wore this mask, like you still were a good person underneath it all. And I want to give you your flowers for this guy right here is a coach for the Raiders, right?
Yeah,
For
from our
Raiders.
Raiders.
He's raising a really smart kid. I don't know him, but I see the post and I'm just like, oh, this kid's going somewhere,
Yeah,
you know?
he's the best he's me he's the best version of me. He would have been me that, if I had the proper father figure and family
Guidance.
foundation. So he's everything.
Yeah. And you're breaking right there. That's a generational curse that you're like, I'll be damned if I don't break it, you know? So that right there is so nice. And Hannah, she seems amazing, so pretty, baby blue eyes. Okay. And a baby, a whole baby. So
Oh man.
I'm so happy for you. And I know you got stuff cleared off of your record recently, right?
Yes, I am
And
no longer a felon. No
that's
longer a felon.
That's flower worthy. Just pretend I like threw a rose. And you're going back to school.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's awesome. And you just have a lot going for you. And I'm happy for you. And I just think, I always say people get what they deserve, and you worked your ass off, and everything good that's happening to you, you are deserving of it. And it is what it is. Like, you didn't, no handouts. You did that,
Well,
you
thank you. I
know?
appreciate it, man. It
Yeah.
feels good to hear it. When you live through it, it's just like I said, autopilot mode, and you just put your head down and push through. But when you look back at the path, you're like, man, I really did that. Like,
Yeah, I
man, I
fucking
climbed
did
that
it.
mountain. I did
Yeah.
that.
Yeah, and you still have so much ahead of you. Like, looking forward to, everything you will still continue to accomplish. And um yeah, thank you very much for your time.
Yeah, of course, anytime I will happily be a recurring guest if you allow me to. I'm
Yes,
more
of
than happy to
course.
be here.
Oh, that's awesome. I will. I definitely, you're a smart guy, you're very mindful, and I think people already know that, but I think there's just genuine conversations is just, they hit different. It's not, no, we didn't talk about this shit beforehand, nothing was pre-planned. It just, straight from the heart.
Yeah, it's just genuine conversation, and they flow so easy when
Yeah,
they're with genuine people. Nothing was forced, it was
yeah,
nice and easy. So
yeah. You're
hey,
out
that's
here nervous, you're like, "Oh, you got me nervous."
yeah, you're making me blush here.
Let's take off the glasses because we just expose our whole lives to the internet. But thank you. And is there anything you want to say? Anything you want to share with anyone, or just something you have on your mind
Um,
before we head on
just
out?
just real quick. I mean, hey, there was a lot of nuggets of information that we both dropped here. Man, if you can take anything from this hour and some change, man, even if it's just a little 3-second clip of what you really liked or what you can improve upon in your life, man. Hey, man, as long as I can help you out some way, hey, I did my job, man.
Yeah.
I'm here for all you guys. I'm here for you. Obviously, as you can see, if you're at rock bottom, man, that only means there's nowhere to go but up. So,
Yeah.
destroy everything. Start from scratch and create whoever you want to be.
That
That's
new
that's
foundation.
yeah, that that new foundation. You have that power.
We're foundationals now.
Destroy who you are and create who you want to be.
Yeah. Oh, that's awesome. Well, thank you so much. I hope you have a great night, and
Thank
say
you.
hi to your family for me. I send love, and
I will. We'll be waiting for this to drop. Everybody's gonna watch this, so we'll be waiting for it to drop.
I will. It'll probably be out tomorrow, but I swear to God, every time I say like, "Oh, it's happening," something happens, and it's like, nah, the next day.
Hey, it's all good. We're all patient people over here. We
Yeah.
understand life happens. So
Yeah, well, thank you, Daniel, and you have a great night.
yeah.
And for everyone that is watching, this is Daniel Mendez, childhood friend, now coach, father of two, future husband. I'm thinking of.
We'll get there.
And yeah, I just thank you for your time. If you guys have him on social media, do you want to shout out your social media, or?
Yeah, sure. Hey man, I don't know if you can put it somewhere, but it's at the underscore curse KURZE everywhere.
Mhm.
Instagram, Twitter. I don't know if it's my Snapchat. You don't want my Snapchat. That's not for anybody.
Hannah, I didn't talk about the Snapchat. That's not my idea. No, but thank you for dropping some knowledge on our asses. We need it. We appreciate it. And for everyone here, thank you for watching again. We're all just human beings trying to fucking live a life on this earth. And, sometimes that shit shakes like an earthquake, but you gotta get back up and don't let it keep you down. Get up. Get the fuck up. Nothing is ever too hard that you can't handle. So thank you again, and have a great night.
Yeah, you too. Peace.
Racking my brain. Ducking these shadows, I'm going insane. This poison inside me will never be drained. These drugs that I'm doing ain't numbing the pain. Nothing I'm doing been picking me up. Standing in the rain, but I'm starting to rust. Ice in my veins and it's starting to cut. Stuck in the mud and I don't give a fuck. Don't give a fuck and I never could change. You're shooting with us, but you don't got the range. I spit like there's venom inside of these fangs. This bayonet sharp and go right through your bangs. Don't give a fuck and I never could change. You're shooting with us, but you don't got the range. I spit like there's venom inside of these fangs. This bayonet sharp and go right through your bangs. 2 AM and I'm parked outside, so damn high, really don't wanna drive. Way too tired, but I'm still gon' slide. Long ass drive till I see those eyes. Spinning this block in these brand new tires. Whole crew fly, we ain't even gotta try. Grind for this life, we still gon' die. Grind for this life, we still gon' die. 2 AM and I'm parked outside, so damn high, really don't wanna drive. Way too tired, but I'm still gon' slide. Long ass drive till I see those eyes. Spinning this block in these brand new tires. Whole crew fly, we ain't even gotta try. Grind for this life, we still gon' die. Grind for this life, we still gon' die.
You're a